So anyone who's tried learning guitar has probably started with that song, and there's good reason for it. For one thing, it's iconic. Most people recognize it instantly, and it uses all power chords. What are power chords? Power chords are, it's a good way to think of it is like half of a chord. So a basic chord is made up of 3 notes, a root, a third, and a fifth. So take your root, that's the note you start on, say like A, and go up a third, that's C sharp, and then go up again to the fifth, and that would be an E. So 3 notes, A, C sharp, E, and that's just your basic triad is what people refer to when you just say like, play an A. That's what they mean. But for a power chord, you take out the third, which would be the C sharp, and you go straight to the fifth. So that'd be A, E, and then your third note, you're just gonna double up the root note an octave up. So that would, it's still an A, it's just a full octave higher. And that's a power chord. And because it's one of the first things that any new guitarist learns, it's kind of gotten a reputation as like basic and unimpressive among more technical players. But power chords are super useful. There's a reason that rock music is almost built entirely on this foundation, and part of that is because of the band's makeup. The makeup of a modern rock band being drums, bass, rhythm guitar, lead guitar. And because there's 2 guitarists, if both players are utilizing the entirety of the instrument's range at all times during a song, like playing a bar chord across all 6 strings, it's gonna like eat up the melodic range of the song. Like to put it in simpler terms, they're gonna step on each other's toes. If both players are like playing all strings at all times, that's why you kind of see it broken up. Power chords are really great for this because it keeps it to the bottom 3 strings, or if you go up to the A, but still using the bottom 4 strings of the guitar. And that kind of leaves the lead guitarist a lot of room to kind of do fills and leads and really more melodic stuff on top. Because if I'm going kind of doing this rhythm down here, it really frees me up top that a lead player can come in and kind of lay something down. Something like that. And another big reason that power chords became so prevalent in rock music is because they sound really good overdriven. If you do a full bar chord, or like a basic open chord, it doesn't sound very good distorted. There's just too much going on. There's too many notes being played at once, and it sounds muddy. But since power chords are just root, fifth, root, it becomes really easy to distort it and still maintain the clarity because there's not that many notes. There's really only 2 different notes. Since one is doubled. But at the same time, the root 5th octave structure of power chords can get kind of monotonous and boring, and sometimes you just want to switch it up. So a lot of times what I use, if I want the power chord sound, but I want it to be more interesting or kind of put a twist on it, I will keep the root 5th and then change the octave note to something else. And I don't know if there's like an official name for them. I call them flower chords because they're like power chords, but they sound prettier or more interesting. So the first one I'll show you guys, and the one that I use most, like I'm very guilty of maybe overusing this one, but you take your root and your 5th. So in this case, it's an A and an E. And then instead of the octave, you're just gonna drop it down 1 fret, making it the major 7th. So instead of root 5th octave, you get root 5th major 7th. And that is maybe my favorite sound in all of guitar music. Just dropping that octave down to the major 7th gives it that flavor while still like providing all the benefits of power chords, not eating up too much of the frequency range of a song and letting it still be really percussive. As opposed to something like, that's fine, but then you change it to, it just gives it a totally different flavor and just a sound that I really love. So then taking that idea, you can apply that same thing, but to the minor. If you drop that top note down 1 more fret, it turns it into like a minor 7th, It's not really a minor seventh because you don't have the third, and that's what makes a chord minor, but it is like implying a minor seventh chord. And again, as compared to your basic power chord, it's fine, it's fine. But then you change it to the minor seventh flower chord. It like makes it darker, in my opinion, in the way that like the major seventh sounds really pretty. It's just, it adds more conflict, I think. And then if you move in the other direction, so you go back to your root fifth octave, you take your octave and move 2 frets up, full step, turning it into the ninth. And what I really like about the ninth flower chord is that it's almost like 2 power chords stacked on top of each other. So you can kind of look at it as like if I start on a D and I have the root in the 5th, and then I go down to the G9 flower chord, where it's G, D, A. The 2 notes that I was just playing are still in there. I'm basically just adding G as the root, but it's kind of recontextualizing it. And I do that a lot, and I think it's really fun to keep like half or even like, you know, in this case, 2/3 of the notes the same, but then you change 1 note and recontextualize the whole chord. But yeah, again, if we go back to that A example, that's fun, it's chunky, it's like that, you know, classic rock sound. But then you throw the ninth in there, and I think the ninth has a really upbeat, really happy sound. My other favorite thing about using these chord shapes is that it allows for so much movement. You can mix and match them within like the same measure or the same rhythm, even utilizing the original power chord shape. So for example, we'll go back to A. So we have our original power chord, root 5th octave. And then as you're playing, you can really easily move your top note around during the rhythm. So like drop it to the major 7th, go up to the 9, and go back to the octave. So now that we've gone over some basic variations on the root 5th octave power chord structure, let's talk about some different ways to make your power chords sound different or unique. One thing that I like to do is taking any basic power chord riff that I might have written and playing it with the 3rd instead of the 5th. And it's technically not a power chord at that point, but the idea is the same. So instead of A, E, A, I'm going A, C sharp, A. So a classic power chord would sound like this. And then when you're putting the 3rd in instead of the 5th, it would sound. And what that does is really make it more explicitly major or minor. You kind of are sacrificing that ambiguity when you play the 3rd instead, but it is like a different sound that a lot of people don't use. And just like the other shapes we talked about, this also allows for movement. If you start with like a basic power chord on A, and that's just another easy way. And then you can even combine switching the 5th out for the 3rd with those other shapes, the other flower chord shapes that we talked about. So like, let's take the major 7th, so root 5th 7, and then put the 3rd in there. And that definitely makes it sound more like an actual chord, but it's still, you're only using the bottom strings. It still won't eat up much of your frequency range. It's still very easy for a lead guitarist to solo. And then, like, again, switching around. The other shape that I use a lot is the minor 7, but then I go down to the minor 3rd. And that's probably my 2nd favorite chord. And it sounds fantastic when you pick it out. It sounds fantastic when you strum it. So those are my favorite variations on power chords. and the ones I use the most, the ones I think sound the nicest. I hope this video was helpful for you, anyone who's learning guitar. If you want to see anything else, if you want to see more guitar lessons, let me know. If you want to see less guitar lessons, also let me know. But yeah, keep playing, keep practicing every day, sometimes twice a day. I'm going to say practice twice a day, because then you can practice half as much as I recommend and you'll still get better. So anyone learning guitar, practice twice a day at the very least, or you will suck forever.